But first, let me say a couple of things about the issues that are most important today and that are being ignored or not dealt with seriously in the electoral campaigns for good reasons. So let me start with the most important issues. There are two of these. They're of overwhelming significance because the fate of the species depends on them. One is environmental disaster, the other's nuclear war. I'm not going to take much time reviewing the threats of environmental disaster. Actually, they're on the front pages almost daily. Both political parties demand that we make the problem worse. And in fact, as Obama has emphasized, we have to work hard to gain what he calls 100 years of energy independence by exploiting domestic or Canadian resources, by fracking and other elaborate technologies. It doesn't ask what the world will look like in 100 years. So there are differences. The differences are basically about how enthusiastically the lemmings should march towards the cliff. I mean, maybe humans are somehow trying to fulfill a prediction of great American biologist who died recently, Ernst Mayr. He argued years ago that intelligence seems to be a lethal mutation. He had some pretty good evidence. There's a notion of biological success, which is how many of you are there around. You know, that's biological success. And he pointed out that if you look at the tens of billions of species in world history, the ones that are very successful are the ones that mutate very quickly, like bacteria, or the ones that have a fixed ecological niche, like beetles. They seem to make out fine. But as you move up the scale of what we call intelligence, success declines steadily. When you get up to mammals, it's very low. There are very few of them around. And there's a lot of cows. It's only because we domesticate them. When you get to humans, it's the same. Till very recently, much too recent a time to show up in any evolutionary accounting, humans were very scattered. There were plenty of other hominids, but they disappeared. Probably because humans exterminated them, but nobody knows for sure. Anyhow, maybe we're trying to show that humans just fit into the general pattern. We can exterminate ourselves too, the rest of the world with us, and we're hell-bent on it right now.
This is the theme symbol of the New York World's Fair, the Unisphere, built by United States Steel. And here will be the biggest, most fascinating show ever created by man. 650 acres and over 200 exhibitors. The finest in industry, the arts, culture, and entertainment from all over the world. You'll see RCA's TV broadcast in color. You'll see fascinating exhibits of photography by Eastman Kodak, of chemistry by DuPont, of automation by National Cash Register, and of gas by the gas industry.
I want the people of the world to visit this fair and to come to the American exhibit, the exhibit of the United States, and see what we've accomplished through a system of freedom.
And Maryland will dramatize the Star-Spangled Banner. Our own United States of America at the New York World's Fair.
I want to try one.
These machines are part of NCR's game room for kiddies. Here, youngsters are encouraged to develop a healthy interest in profit and loss, the flow of capital, and the price-earnings ratio. It has proved to be a popular exhibit and should allay any fears that creeping socialism is ruining our children. By now, the major exhibits at the fair have established a popularity rating with the public in the manner of a bestseller list. The #1 favorite is the General Motors Futurama, a 15-minute ride which has been averaging about 90,000 visitors daily.
Welcome to Futurama 2. Welcome to a journey into the future. A journey for everyone today into the everywhere of tomorrow. Let us explore together the future. A future not of dreams, but of reality. It is now tomorrow. On the moon, there is no air to breathe, no rain to fall, no sound that can be heard. Yet here is man, exploring, building his first bridgehead in his span of space. Lunar rovers float magically over powdered plains, range the crater's edge, their elastic train-like bodies conforming to every surface character of the moon. Here are bases of communication and supply, islands of existence built to withstand the melting heat of the lunar day, the shattering cold of the lunar night. Men in space now monitor the Earth, while men on Earth are finding a whole new world of answers to the worldwide needs of man. A diamond brilliance draws us to a frozen shore, to Antarctica, the southern polar cap of the world. Here, nations of the world, speaking the common language of science, probe for the Earth's secrets through countless centuries of ice. In mobile laboratories, form expeditions into the vast white wastelands of the still unknown. And here is Weather Central, forecasting to the world the great climatic changes born in the Antarctic's never-ending winds. Technicians, kept warm within their walls of ice, gather data from the depths of space, from polar winds, surrounding seas, in microseconds, relaying information wherever needed, anywhere on Earth. 3/4 of our Earth lies beneath the cold, still deeps of the sea, a water world in which we now can find abundance far beyond our dreams. Now we can farm and harvest a drifting, swimming, never-ending nourishment, food enough to feed 7 times the population of the Earth. In aquacopters, search the ocean floor to find miles deep, vast fields of precious minerals and ores. And in the deepest trenches of the seas, study at first hand long-hidden secrets of survival. Work easily the rich oil deposits of the continental shelves, while trains of submarines transport materials and goods along the waterways of the undersea. And in warmer seas are new realms of pleasure. A weekend, if you wish, at Hotel Atlantis, in the kingdom of the sea. A holiday of thrills and of adventure, of radiant wonders in the sun-bright gardens of the sea. Fabulous coral reefs lead us back to the land, an equatorial land. Now, technology has found a way to control the wild profusion of this wonder world. A jungle road is built in one continuous operation. First, a searing ray of light, the laser beam, cuts through the trees. Then a giant machine, a factory on wheels, grinds up the stumps and jungle growth, sets the firm foundation, forms the surface slabs, sets them in place, and the roadway bed is paved. These forest highways now are bringing to the innermost depths of the tropic world the goods and materials of progress and prosperity, creating productive communities that can enter profitably the markets of the world, and offering to us all enchanting tours through the storybook forests of tropic lands. The mountain barrier, legendary challenge of man, now invites communal living in a world of awesome beauty. A new system of highways spans the continents to transport men and goods swiftly and separately across the land. And for our deserts, a new technology. Waters from the sea made fresh as rain to nourish crops planted in the sand. Produce from seed to shipment, programmed and processed by a new agriculture. A science of plenty for an ever-growing world. People live today where they will. Neither terrain nor distance a deterrent to where the men of the city build their homes. All roads lead, as they have for centuries, to the great centers of commerce and communication, as the Continental Highway now leads us to the city of tomorrow. Plazas of urban living rise over freeways. Vehicles, electronically paced, travel routes remarkably safe, swift, and efficient. Towering terminals serve sections of the city, make public transportation more convenient, provide ample space for private cars, and from a lower level, covered moving walks radiate to shopping areas that are now truly marketplaces of the world. Its traditions and its faiths preserved, there is new beauty and new strength in the city of tomorrow. Technology can point the way to a future of limitless promise, but man must chart his own course into tomorrow, a course that frees the mind and the spirit as it improves the well-being of mankind.
This, then, will be the New York World's Fair. Everywhere construction goes on so rapidly, in fact, that what you see here is already ancient history. It's so close to opening day that tickets are already on sale all over the country.
With conservatives like myself for years have pointed out media bias. Do you understand why we say that? I do an example every week. We do Media Mash, and we show the mainstream media in particular.
Right.
And we show examples of just how biased they are. And I think one of the reasons Fox is popular is because of that.
Well, I think you have a bias to the right, so I think that helps.
I'm the only outspoken conservative here, by the way.
I know, but I do. I think, and I think that Roger, when he put this together, I've known him a long time. Yeah. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that there was a big audience out there who wanted to have their points of view reaffirmed on a daily basis or on a nightly basis. Look, yeah. I've been doing this for a long time. During the 1960s and the Civil Rights Movement, I was called a communist. I was called a reporter from profit because I was covering civil rights, after all.
Interesting. All right. Always good to see you.
The right wing continually claims that the press has a liberal bias. And there's some truth to that, but they don't understand what it means. The liberal bias is extremely important in a system of in a sophisticated system of propaganda. In fact, there ought to be a liberal bias. The liberal bias says, thus far and no further. I'm as far as you can go, and look how liberal I am. And of course, it turns out that I accept, without question, all the presuppositions of the propaganda system. Notice that that's a beautiful type of system. You don't ever express the propaganda. That's vulgar and too easy to penetrate. You just presuppose it. Unless you accept the presuppositions, you're not part of the discussion. And the presuppositions are instilled not by beating you over the head with them, but just by making them the foundation of discussion. You don't accept them, you're not in the discussion.
Breaking not one but 2 doorknobs in their draconian efforts to arrest one of the most dangerous men of all time. The wretched display of American imperialism has already prompted a new book by Noam Chomsky, Knock Knock, America's Secret War on Doorknobs. It's available wherever books that make people think they look smart are sold.
I think you're a Democrat, John. I think that's probably correct. I think I would say I'm more of a socialist or an independent.
Let me explain to you what I think I meant by the comment on that show, seeing as I have at various times described myself as socialist, independent, Whig, Rockefeller Republican, Teddy Roosevelt Democrat, and Contrarian ass. All right. I don't believe in state control of industry or collectivizing the farms, but I do believe that there is value in some policies that derive from a more socialist ethos, like
I think that Social Security is an essential program.
Right, like Social Security, right. Because Obama's real socialist scheme has nothing to do with health care.
He basically socialized the auto industry. He's moving from free market capitalism directly to socialism. He socialized auto companies.
So I hope you enjoy your new line of socialist cars, America. The AMC Kremlin. The Christless LeBaron. The Shea Brulee.
So you're saying the crash of 2008 would have been abetted with less regulation?
Yes, wow. Absolutely. Yes.
All right, well, that's out of the box. That's way out of the box.
I would tell you.
We like that on our show. Yeah. We don't want to be in the box. You're not in the box.
The crash of 2008 was caused by human nature.
Human nature, exactly. And you know what? That's why capitalism is the right system, because you have to go by human nature. Communism was wrong because it tried to make the river flow in the wrong direction. You have to use human nature's selfishness. But that flowing river does need dams and locks on it, because if it's just let go, then you'll have floodplains. You gotta sort of control the river a little, can't you?
I'm as far as you can go, and look how liberal I am.
You gotta sort of control the river a little, can't you? You have to use human nature's selfishness.
Look, I voted for President Obama because I trust his values and his judgment, and I believe that he's a fundamentally responsible actor. Without gratuitously slamming next President Bush, I think he displayed extraordinary lapses in judgment in executing his primary responsibility as Commander-in-Chief and put troops in harm's way imprudently. President Obama would have exercised better judgment, and he has exercised better judgment. The way it stands now, the drone program is exclusively within the domain of the executive. Their protocol, their judgment. So yeah, I feel a whole lot better about the program when the decider, so to speak, is President Obama. It's not to say that, again, the process shouldn't be codified, that there shouldn't be oversight.
During the last election, I happened to be talking to a well-known black activist, very much involved in civil rights and other activism, and he told me a story. He said that after Obama's first election, 2008, he was visited by a group of African-American women leading activists who wanted to talk to him. He said he was there when they came out of the meeting and asked them what it was like. And their answer was, this man has no moral center. That's their reaction. I think they're right. If you look at his policies, I think that's what they reveal. I mean, there's some nice rhetoric here and there, but you look at the actual policies, they're pretty shocking. The drone assassination campaign, it's a perfectly good example. I mean, it's just a global assassination campaign. If the Bush administration didn't like somebody, they'd kidnap them and send them to torture chambers. If the Obama administration decides they don't like somebody, they murder them. So you don't have to have torture chambers all over. Actually, that tells us something else. There was nothing said. The worst part is there's nothing said about it. Actually, the same is true of the al-Awlaki killing. There was a little talk about the fact that he was an American citizen. You shouldn't just murder American citizens. But you know, the New York Times headline, for example, when he was killed, said something like, "West celebrates death of radical cleric." Well, first of all, it wasn't death; it was murder. And the West celebrates the murder of a suspect. He's a suspect, after all. There was something done almost 800 years ago called the Magna Carta, which is the foundation of Anglo-American law, that says that no one shall be subjected to a violation of rights without due process of law and a fair and speedy trial. It doesn't say if you think somebody's a suspect, you should kill him. Necessary to inculcate the new spirit of the age, gain wealth for getting old itself, and reverence for what Adam Smith condemned as the vile maxim. The out-of-control financial sector is eating out the modern market economy from inside, just as the larva of the spider wasp eats out the host in which it has been laid. Well, by shredding the remnants of political democracy, they also lay the basis for carrying the lethal process forward, and will continue to do so as long as their victims are willing to suffer in silence. That new spirit of the age is so inhuman, so that over 150 years of effort, there still is always resistance.
People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company. People like me. I'm popular. People like to be with me and enjoy my company.
Newtonian revolution was that the aspirations of science were lowered. There's a big difference between intelligibility of theories and intelligibility of the world.
So we determined that the best thing for us to do was basically to take the human being out of the equation. Now that had two advantages in our industry. Number one, when you take the human being out of the equation, you solve your regulatory problems, because the nature of any human being, certainly anyone on Wall Street, is, you know, the better deal you give the customer, the worse deal it is for you, because you're on the other side of the transaction. So you know, as honest as you can find, you try and get people to be. There's this normal, natural pull, you know, that you have to deal with. So by taking the human being out of the equation to a great extent and turning it over to a computer to make the decision, I guess you could also program the computer to violate the regulation.
Back in the days when you guys first started this company, you invented the very first Apple computers, what was it that you saw a then younger Steve Jobs step up into the CEO role? What sort of personality characteristics did you see him start to exhibit that maybe he didn't have when he was the geek computer programmer as you guys developed the very first Apple computer?
Sure. We were in our young 20s. And Steve, he had a lot of ideas. He must have read some books that really were his guide in life, you know, and I think Atlas Shrugged might have been one of them that he mentioned back then. But they were his guides in life as to how you make a difference in the world, and it starts with a company, and you build products, and you got to make your profit, and then that allows you to invest the profit and then make better products that make more profit. I would say how good a company is, it's fair to measure it by its profitability.
I care very much about literature as the place where the real dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, are met and dealt with. So to have novels as transcendently awful as Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead sort of undermines my project. And then, though I have some respect for the virtue of selfishness, a collection of essays, I don't think there's any need to have essays advocating selfishness among human beings. I don't know what your impression has been, but some things require no further reinforcement.
Now, one of the principal achievements of this country in the past 20 years particularly, I think most people agree, is the gradual growth of social protective legislation based on the principle that we are our brother's keepers. How do you feel about the political trends of the United States, the Western world?
The way everybody feels, except more consciously. I feel that it is terrible, that you see destruction all around you, and that you are moving toward disaster until and unless all those welfare state conceptions have been reversed and rejected. It is precisely these trends which are bringing the world to disaster, because we are now moving towards complete collectivism or socialism, a system under which everybody is enslaved to everybody. And we are moving that way only because of our altruist morality. I have no faith at all. I only hold convictions. When you are asked to love everybody indiscriminately, that is, to love people without any standard, to love them regardless of the fact of whether they have any value or virtue, you are asked to love nobody. You are asked to love nobody. That is not how love should be treated. I agree with you that it should be treated like a business deal, but every business has to have its own terms and its own kind of currency. And in love, the currency is virtue. You love people not for what you do for them or what they do for you. You love them for their values, the virtues which they have achieved in their own character. You don't love causes. You don't love everybody indiscriminately. You love only those who deserve it. He certainly does not deserve it. He certainly is beyond. He can always correct. Man has free will. If a man wants love, he should correct his weaknesses or his flaws, and he may deserve it, but he cannot expect the unearned, neither in love nor in money. He is open to everybody to make themselves worthy of it, and that is all that my morality offers them. A way to make themselves worthy of love, also that's not the primary motive. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hope that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute. His highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness. Each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest. Rational self-interest. Everybody is enslaved to everybody, and we are moving that way only because of our altruist morality.
What were you doing in our territory, eh?
I came to warn you. Tomorrow the Drogs are going to deomize the park.
Deomize the park. Is that so? How do you know this?
One of our tribe saw it, written on the wall.
The Ohms of the Great Tree know how to read drog writing now?
Don't listen to him. It's a trap. They want us to leave the hollow log.
Believe me, the Drogs will deomize.
Take him away. One of you go look at the walls.
Master Sin, our scientists attribute this strange loss of efficiency to a rupture in the emotional compensation system.
It appears that an unusual degree of wear on the machines has caused this decline in production.
These machines have always performed with optimum efficiency. Only those machines that were reinstalled after the Antac space mission have for some reason failed to complete their assignments.
We de-ohmize the savage ohms every 3 cycles.
It appears that in reality, the number of savage ohms far exceeds our accepted totals.
New extermination methods are under study.
The Uva of Telez is not the only place where de-ohmization has provoked fierce retaliation.
In the deomized park, beside the dead drog, we found 2 remarkably well-organized ohm nests.
He's a domesticated ohm, mighty one. He ran away with this machine of the Drogs. With it, he's learned to read their writing.
Every day, they grow more and more audacious. I consider it essential that we impose more drastic measures against the ohms. I propose that the parks be de-ohmized twice each cycle.
The Drogs will massacre us.
They reproduce at a frightening pace.
What do you think it means?
The drogs intend to kill all the ohms in the park.
In order to dehomize thoroughly, we must use all our latest weapons.
Of course, if the animal evolves, we've not yet ascertained that fact.
The ohms are gradually learning. If only we could get more info headsets.
We must eliminate all the savage ohms, and I pose the question, should we even keep our domestic ohms?
They're punishing us for stealing knowledge.
They also claim that the Ohm's ancestors on the ancient planet Terra were quite intelligent.
One of the chests was a trap, and now Rover is dead. He knew it was a trap, Mighty One.
It's evident the animal possesses certain faculties for adaptation. But intelligence?
We must hurry. Our informants among the domestic ohms claim that a massive deomization is already underway.
It is also imperative that we impose strict controls on the breeding and the sale of all domestic ohms. Much too often, they escape again and join the swarms of savage ohms that infest the parks and other isolated areas.
We were wrong to consider ohms as simple, harmless animals.
Long ago, I witnessed a deomization. It was horrible. But here in the great tree, I think we will be perfectly safe.
I fear that we have committed an error fraught with most grievous consequences.